Hey guys, well, this is my third video of the day that I decided to make because this was something I was really excited about. I decided to try again another attempt at an original tag. I tried once before with a tag I called the "What If" tag, which is was basically a series of questions like "What if this happened?" or "What if this happened?" and "How would you handle it?" type of thing. I don't think it really went anywhere. Granted, maybe it's just because I don't have a lot of subscribers right now. But I do appreciate the ones that I have. Don't and I love you guys. I love that you watch my videos. So I'm gonna try again another attempt at a book tag. This is one I had tried before, but as I've said before, in my previous videos, I like to write out my questions and think of my answers and write them down ahead of time. And when I create a tag, obviously I would like to do the same thing. And I tried to create this tag before, the one I'm giving to you guys now, and it didn't. I was just feeling really overwhelmed. I was coming up with so many questions, and it was just too much. I was taking on more than I could handle. So I decided to throw together the "What If" tag, and like I said, I guess that one did not go anywhere that I'm aware of. Maybe some people have discovered it. I mean, that would be awesome and a nice little surprise if that happened. But this particular tag, this original tag that I've come up with this time, is based on questions connected to one of my favorite television series that unfortunately got canceled after only 2 seasons. It was an ABC show called Galavant, which was this fairy tale musical, kind of like Monty Python meets Princess Bride, with singing and dancing. It's kind of a parody of all these elements found in fairy tales. Like the main character is this heroic knight that's and everybody loves him. He has a huge ego, and he must help. His true love was kidnapped by a tyrant, lustful King Richard. The woman into the night, basically season 1, with the help of another princess from another kingdom that the king and his new wife invaded. Because what ends up happening is basically that Galavant's true love, Madalena, ends up marrying the tyrant king because she sees that this king guy, she could get a better life with this King Richard. So she marries him, and so it kind of sends Galavant to a depression. And this other Princess Isabella, her kingdom is just taken over by Richard and Madalena because they find out that Isabella's kingdom has a special, really nice looking jewel, and Madalena wants it. So Richard convinces Isabella to go to Galavant and manipulate him into coming to rescue Madalena, so that he can get rid of Galavant at the same time. So Galavant and Isabella and the knight go, and basically season 1 is all about them going on this adventure, thinking that they're going to save Madalena, at least, and it's just they run into pirates and stuff like that, and just have all these crazy fun adventures. They have to compete in a tournament, and just all these different crazy adventures. And like I said, it's a musical. And like I said, there's 2 seasons, and all the characters are basically parodies of the tropes in fairy tales, all the cliches and stuff, and basically turned on their head. Like I said, unfortunately that one got canceled. I don't know if it's because it wasn't promoted enough, or just ABC is not good with costume dramas. And yes, I know Once Upon a Time is a costume drama technically, but it is also a costume drama based on the Disney fairy tales, and ABC owns the Disney company, or the Disney company owns ABC as of right now. Although I read some articles that things are changing recently. So of course Once Upon a Time lasted. Now, personally, I think the quality went downhill halfway through season 2, but that is just me. And some of my friends, a lot of my friends agree. But I would warn you, don't ever get into a discussion or a debate with me. I know I bring up Once Upon a Time all the time, a lot. I've brought it up more than quite a few times, but I'm just really... I compare what happened with Once Upon a Time for me as like a bad breakup. Like, I fell in love with the show, and then it fell apart, and the show broke my heart. I know that seems stupid and overdramatic and everything, but it's just how I feel. So, I decided, but because I think that Galavant did not get the justice it deserved, the time it deserved, and I just love the show. I watch it on Netflix, the 2 seasons on Netflix all the time. It's only like 8 in the first season, and then 10 or 9 in the second season. And actually, it kind of makes fun of the whole idea of that, like, they're not, how they got really lucky in the first number of season 2. Called, what is, I can't remember. A new season, Suck It, Cancellation Bear. I think, like, if you understand the whole how that whole process works, like, I think there's some guy labeled the Cancellation Bear who writes articles about shows that will probably get canceled. Something like that. I mean, I heard about it, like, I looked it up and stuff. People, like, I read in the comments on the video for that song on YouTube, and I read the comments and they kind of explained it on there, what it is. But anyway, so I took, like I said, part of the problem was that I was overstretching myself with the questions. Like, I was looking at both the musical numbers and the characters, questions based on on the songs and upon the characters. So I decided instead to just focus on the song, some of my favorite songs from the show. Okay, so here's question number. Okay, sorry about that. Like I said, I write these down. Question number 1, of course, is the opening number, Galavant, which is basically, a song about introducing the hero, introducing Galavant now. Everybody loves him, and basically introducing the story. It's like, telling you about how the story begins and what leads to the events where the story starts off at. So the question I have here is a lovable lead male character that has a huge ego. And now I would say this character has the character I chose, I wouldn't say he doesn't have too much of an ego, but I feel like he does have a little bit of an ego. And that is quote from The Name of the Wind, or the Kingkiller Chronicles, by, what is his name? Oh, well, don't worry. I'm not gonna look. Basically, the lead character in the Kingkiller Chronicles, I think he's lovable. I know not everybody likes him. I think some people don't. And some people probably think he's a bit of a Gary Stu character. But he's narrating his own life, so of course he's gonna make his life and who he is a lot. He's gonna exaggerate who he is, make himself look really good. So that's why I say so. But I think he's very lovable at the same time. And, you can't help, and even if you agree or not, we have to agree that he's a lovable character. Okay, question number 2, the world's best kiss, which was, Galavant in the beginning of at the end of season 1, spoiler alert, Galavant and Isabella fall in love, and they had their first kiss when, at the end of season 2, at the end of season 1, it ends with them kissing, doing this real quick one before, because the characters Galavant and Richard get separated from the group, which, if you watch the show, you'll understand how Richard gets involved with their little group. And Galavant, and so basically, and then in season 2, in I think the first episode, they both are kind of thinking about their first kiss, and it was just really, it wasn't as magical as they wanted it to be. They were a little disappointed by it. And there's this whole running joke throughout season 2 about how the kiss was just not that great. I think it might have been in episode 2 or 3. I think episode 2. But there's this, running joke that their first kiss was not that great, and it was very yeasty and musty. Those are the words that they both use. So, for this question, I have an OTP that had an awkward beginning. And I picked Thorn and Crest from the Lunar Chronicles, because Crest had a huge crush. She is like a very nerdy, a computer geek type of girl. She's very shy and awkward and stuff. And she had this huge crush on Thorn, on Captain Carswell Thorn, who was like the ladies' man, the charmer. He had a bit of an ego, was, considered himself a captain even if he didn't have a ship at the time. And, and so when Cinder and Thorn go to rescue, Wolf decide to go stage a rescue and rescue Crest, who is basically this girl trapped on a satellite, and she has been forced and coerced into doing the surveillance from Lunar. I know this is all confusing, but if you've read the books, this will make sense. She's been spying for the Lunars, who are kind of the bad guys. Not exactly, but like the evil queen. They've been spying. Crest has been forced to spy for the evil queen in the story, and she sees Thorn and Cinder's ship on the radar, and she calls out to them, and they offer to and they go to rescue her, but of course naturally it goes wrong, and Thorn gets separated from the group, and so does Scarlett, another character, but luckily the satellite does fall to the sky, so technically Crest does escape her imprisonment. And she and Thorn travel together, and he realizes that she has a massive crush on him, and this is where his good side comes. You start to see his good side. Like, he's not as egotistical as he seems, because he tells Crest, I'm not a good guy. You may think I am, but I'm not. I'm not worth your affections. And and he ends up, like, when they rescue her, Thorn ends up losing his sight. I can't remember how. He had lost his, he got knocked down or something, and, something fell in his face, scratched up his eyes or something. But he loses his sight, and Crest has to kind of be his guide, and she's still, despite what he said, she's kind of struggling because she still has these massive feelings for him, and she still believes he's a good guy. And it's just very, they're feeling her, and it's just a very weird but fun little dynamic. Like I said, it was a very awkward beginning. Okay, No One But You. Your favorite female villain that manipulated her way to the top. To get whatever ladder she's climbing, whether it's the social society's ladder, the ladder of popularity, the ladder of government power, whatever life ladder, and she had to manipulate her way to the top. So at first I said Lavana, who's also from the Lunar Chronicles. That's the name of the evil queen in that one. First I said her, but then I also thought another one would be Scarlett O'Hara. Not Scarlett from Lunar Chronicles, but Scarlett O'Hara from Gone with the Wind. I feel like she definitely manipulated her way basically to survive. She married Melanie Wicks's brother because, just to get him to shut up and to get close to Ashley, the guy she was in love with, who had to marry Melanie. She also married one of her sister's beaux, Frank, because he had this lumber business, and she knew that would be very lucrative. And she's a very ambitious young woman, so she, was after the war and everything. And I think she married like 2 or 3 guys before she finally married Rhett Butler. And in the second book, Scarlett, by the end of the first book, the famous line, how, if you've seen them, how Gone with the Wind ends. Most people do. Where Scarlett realizes she is in love with Rhett, and he's like, frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn. Like, he no longer cares about her. And so, in the sequel, which is not by Margaret Mitchell, she goes back to South Carolina where Rhett is and tries to manipulate and do things the way she normally would to get what she wants, which is Rhett, to get him back. And like I said Lavanna as well, because she, like, in the book that the prequel to the Lunar Chronicles, which was about young Lavanna, how she does whatever she has to get this captain or soldier guy, whatever, that she's in love with, to get him to fall in love with her. She uses, because Lunars have this power, a kind of mind control type power, and she uses that on the guy that she's in love with to make him think that he's in love with her, despite the fact that he loves another woman and he's married to the other woman, and he kind of adopts, and then when the woman he does love, his wife, dies, she adopts her daughter. She's forced to take care of her daughter, I think, or something. Yeah, I think so. She's kind of forced to, raise the other woman's daughter, and she uses her powers on other people constantly, and so that's another character for the question. That was question number 3. No One But You is a song which is, oh, by the way, I totally forgot. Okay, so that song is basically the song that Madalena sings about how she's the only one who can get things done around there. King Richard, her new husband, is not that scary of a king. He's not that intimidating. He's kind of pathetic in her eyes. She wears the pants in that relationship, essentially. And she's the only one who can get things done around there. That's how she sees it. And she turns out to be, actually, ironic, she turns out to be the villain of the piece. I feel like of the 2 seasons. She, turns out to be the main villain. Okay. Sorry. I forgot to explain that song. So, next time, I gotta remember to explain the songs first, once again. Okay, so that was 3. Question number 4. My Dragon Pal and Me. Which is basically, Richard comes across a little pet lizard that he thinks is a dragon. And he is, fantasizing about, because once again, people are frustrated with him, because he tends to make things difficult, and, you gotta watch he's King Richard is my favorite character, and he's like a little innocent little puppy dog. I just love his character. He's totally awesome and totally lovable. One of those characters that constantly screws up, but you just feel so bad for him, and you want to comfort him, and you want to reassure him and give him confidence. So he's basically the song, he's kind of all upset and everything, because once again, he's been rejected and blamed for everything all the bad that's happened, which technically it is his fault. Because, well, he kidnaps Madeleine in the first place, so. Even though he kind of turns into a good guy and tries to redeem himself, which he does. He does get a redemption in the story, but he's got issues, but he's just adorable. So he's singing about how his pet lizard and he are gonna be great in that, his lizard is gonna turn to this fierce, deadly dragon, and everybody's gonna see how awesome they are together, and he just wants people to believe in him and his dragon. So, the question for this is man and beast friends. Like, your favorite man and beast friendship. So I either picked Aragon and Saphira from the I can't remember what the series is called. I can't remember what the series is called. Or I also picked Dany and her 3 babies, her 3 dragon babies. One of them is Drogon, and Viserion, I think, is one of them, and Rhaegar or something. She names it after the 3 men in her life. And that for obvious reasons why I picked those 2. Okay, question number 5. The song Goodbye, which, this is, a character dies in this song, and of course this is a bit of a comedy. This Galavant is a comedy, so they're kind of like, death is being like, okay, it's time to go, it's time to say goodbye and everything, I'm sorry you're dead, it's a funny song. So, a character death that broke your fangirl heart. Okay, I can think of a book death. I mean, it was sad, like, when Dobby and Snape died, but I didn't want to go with Harry Potter, because everybody's going to probably answer Snape or Dobby in this one. And I just couldn't think of any other characters that died that I really loved, that were book-wise. So, I picked a character that died in a TV show for this one. Which, I know that this, I wasn't the only one that was upset, but I was one of the few people who was like, yeah, it sucks, but I'm not gonna, riot against the writers for killing her. And that was Charlie Bradbury, I think that's her last name, from Supernatural. Charlie was such an awesome character. She represented all of us fangirls and all of our geeky nerdy glory. She was awesome, but her character unfortunately dies in season 10 or 11. I can't remember. She gets killed off, which is very heartbreaking. Okay, so next question is question number, that was 5, I think, so I think we're on number 6. I'll write these in order when I publish this video. And that is the song Togetherness, which is a season 1 song about, Galavant, Isabella, and Galavant's psychic character, his knight, his squire, Sid. And this is our song that's saying, we're stuck together in this journey, we're friends, and we do everything together, but then slowly the song turns into a bit of a rivalry and how annoyed they are by each other, but they're kind of stuck together. Favorite group of friends, or duo of friends. I picked Jon Snow, and Sam Tarly, or I started reading the Raven Cycle series, so I said the Raven Boys in Blue from the Raven Cycle. I think they have a great friendship too. Okay, question number 7. Love is Strange. This is the love duet between Galavant and Isabella at the end of season, or not the end, but close, like right before the last episode. An unexpected but beautiful romance. And the only thing I could think of is Freya and Rhysand from the ACOTAR series. Because I did not think they were going to happen. I didn't know that they were coming in, in A Court of Thorns and Roses. I didn't know Freya and Rhysand were a thing, were going to happen in the next book, but I started hearing about them and started hearing about how great they are, and I was so desperate to read the book to find out if I would fall in love with this couple too, which I did. And they came to be in A Court of Mist and Fury. So they were an unexpected but beautiful romance. I love Rhysand. They are so awesome together. I love how Rhys is always so, yes, he worries about her and he wants to protect Freya. At the same time, he lets her be herself and do her own thing and make her own choices. Which is great. And a great, really. Now, I am sure Rhysand is not perfect, but he's still, he's just great. And Freya is such an awesome character, and the two of them together they're such a beautiful couple. And that's why part of why A Court of Mist and Fury is the best book out of that series so far, anyway. Because I know that Sarah J. Maas is gonna write more books for that series. Okay, so question number 8, if I'm right. Oi, what a night! Season 1. Where Sid, the people of his village think he's the knight, and that Galavant is the squire. His parents and all the people of Sid's village think and they're talking about how great he is and everything, and they decide to they're gonna celebrate his return and all that. So a sidekick character you believe deserves to shine, and although I think she shines pretty well, but at the time, this is the first character I could think of. Now, I did stop reading the series, but I preferred this character over the main character in the series after a while. And that is Aphrodite from a House of Night series. Although, like I said, I think she wasn't like she was a small character or anything. She was a big character, and I think she shined a lot in the show. But I think she deserves her own. When I say shine, I mean a character that deserves their own story, their own series, or at least, novel or their own book or whatever. Aphrodite, she's a bit of a bitch, but she's an awesome bitch. And I think, like I said, I liked her more so than Zoe Redbird, honestly. I was more interested in Aphrodite. And I think she deserves her own book. Okay. Oh, wait, I said here was there? No, it should be he was there. This is from season 2 of Galavant, where, Galavant has a very strained relationship with his father, and, all of a sudden Galavant finds out in season 2 that his father is running a school for underprivileged youth at his house, and teaching all these kids to be knights and everything. And Galavant's pretty, he's kind of pissed about that, because it's like, you neglected me all those years, but now all of a sudden you become a great guy who wants to help other boys like me? He's kind of jealous, essentially. And and basically this song, he's talking to all the boys, and the boys are talking about how great Galavant's dad is, how awesome he is, and how he's helped them so much. And Galavant's like, no, he's a horrible guy. You can't trust him. He was never there for me. And they're like, but he was there for us. He is awesome. How could you say that about him? That's basically what that song is about. And there's a reprise duet song after that between Galavant and his father, where his father's like, I want to make up for the past, the way I treated you when you were a boy. So, for this one, I said a complicated father and son relationship. Again, I couldn't think of any. I could. I was thinking about saying, Tywin and Tyrion Lannister, but so that would probably be my first choice. And then because Tywin cannot stand Tyrion, he thinks Tyrion is a burden and everything, and he can't stand him, and he blames him for the death of his wife. And he resents him, and Tyrion is just angry and frustrated that his father doesn't care about him, and, also his father, when Tyrion accidentally married a hooker, essentially, a prostitute, Tywin got rid of her, so Tyrion's been kind of bitter about that, and there's so much bad blood between the two of them. And then the other choice I picked was the Winchester boys. Another from Supernatural once again. Their father is very hard on them. He's very strict. He has taught them how to fight monsters, and, Sam Winchester is very frustrated because, most fathers would tell their kids they wouldn't give them a .45 and tell them that monsters are real, and if you run into a monster, shoot it. They would tell them that monsters aren't real, they're just make-believe, and Sam's kind of pissed off. It was kind of in season, in the beginning of the show, he's kind of upset about that, but then when their father ends up dying later in the show, Sam becomes more like his father. You realize Sam is a lot more like their dad, John Winchester, than his older brother Dean realized. And Dean is the one who's always he's a lot more like their mom, which is probably why, because their mom, which actually, spoiler alert, their mom is brought back from the dead in the most recent, in season 11, and I think Dean and her butt heads in that season a little bit, and I feel like that kind of shows that Dean is a lot like their mom. I think you're more prone to butt heads with the family, with the parent that you're a lot more like. And if I'm right about the theory, then I guess that means I'm a lot like my mom. I do think I have similarities to my dad, but I think I'm a lot more like my mom because I tend to butt heads with her a lot. But anyway, that's a whole other topic. Dean is always trying to please their dad, essentially, and, their dad is all, like I said, John is very hard on his boys, and it seems like, and Dean is always doing what their father says. He is the obedient son, and then, Sam is kind of the rebellious one, and there's a comparison between Michael and Lucifer to God, in the Winchesters, compared to the Winchesters and their dad, John. They kind of do a parallel kind of thing there's like a comparison between the two. Could probably write a whole paper on that. So, yeah, that's again, it's a TV show couple, but it was kind of hard for me to come up with, although I did come up with, I could have said Tywin and Tyrion. Okay, question number 9, I think. That might have been 9. I will get this in order when I post this. Okay, do. That is one of the magic systems in Galavant. An evil sorcerer practices the do. The dark evil way. That's what it's called, the dark evil way. Okay, so for this one, your favorite magic system. And I picked the magic. I just said the magic in the Kingkiller Chronicles. It's more like science-based kind of magic, because I always compare magic to science. I always feel like it's very similar to it. It's just not as logical and doesn't have a lot to do with, not as much to do with numbers. But I think it's kind of the same concept. Although I do have this little pet peeve where I do not like people saying that fantasy shows and science fiction shows are the same thing, because they are both very different. And it has always irked me when people act like they're the same thing when they're not. So like I said, I just picked that one for the magic system I liked. Okay, so that was number 9, I think. So number 10. Like I said, I will get this in order. I will write this in order down at the bottom of the video. Okay, question number 10. I Don't Like You. The song between Madalena and Isabella, and they're like butting heads. It's the song that's about the competition between the two women, the two female characters. So favorite female enemies. And I said Zoya and Alina from the Grisha trilogy. Zoya is the typical mean girl, but they kind of remind me of Aphrodite and Zoe from the House of Night series, if you read that series. Which, by the way, I don't know if I would recommend the series, though. I mean, their concept about vampires is really cool. Like, the mythology they establish is kind of interesting. And other than the protagonist being incredibly annoying, all the other characters are kind of interesting. Although sometimes, for a lot of people, they have to like the protagonist to like the whole series or the book. So, but it's an interesting concept, and the mythology is kind of interesting too. But there probably are better. I mean, I'm sure even the Vampire Academy is better than House of Night series, which I have not read Vampire Academy, and it's kind of too late because I'm no longer into the whole vampire kind of storyline anymore. I mean, I still like shows like Buffy, and I will still probably read the collection of Anne Rice novels I have in this big, the Barnes & Noble collector's edition ones. I might read the first 3 novels in that just to read them, but I'm not into the whole vampires and that whole thing. I'm not into that anymore. But anyway, I said Zoya and Alina from the Grisha trilogy. For female enemies, they're the typical mean girl and the nice girl butting heads. They both like the hot, mysterious, sexy guy that's popular. They're both drawn to the Darkling descent, basically. I'm talking about the Darkling. They're both drawn to him, and Zoya also hits on Mal, who is Alina's best friend, and she's always had a crush on him. And Zoya is kind of like the diva, and Alina's the pretty, sweet, nice girl. She's awkward and shy. She has this great power, but she didn't know she had it, and she turns out to be the hero of the story. And just both guys like Alina. And it's that kind of story. And that's kind of what happened with Zoe and Aphrodite, too, but it's kind of the same way with Madalena and Isabella. They both kind of share guys, in a way. Well, because not like the second, not like the main guy, Galavant. I hope I'm explaining this right. Okay, so the last question, I think will be number 11. Like I said, I will have this more organized when I write it out on this video. Today We Rise, which is from season 2. It's basically Sid had been forced to stay behind in the palace, where Madalena was now the queen, and he becomes a prisoner. And he kind of gets himself into trouble with Madalena, and she puts wanted posters up and everything so to hunt him down. And he, wanting to protect himself, he decides to lead the peasants into a rebellion and a revolt against the queen and new king, because Madalena goes through kings a lot. She goes through a lot of guys. She's like the female equivalent to a ladies' man. Whatever the gentleman's lady or something. I don't know what that would be called. But she goes through a lot of guys. She went through like 3 guys, I think, in the series. 3 or 4. Like 4 technically, but one of them dies really early on. Well, not early on, but in the show. But he doesn't last very long. This one of the guys doesn't last very long. I mean, he literally does not survive. In fact, he doesn't survive their relationship. But so Sid leads a rebellion with the peasants, and this is a song where, you know, he's talking about, today we stand up and we rise, and yeah, we will, and it's basically him saying, yeah, we'll stand up, today we stand up, today we rise, but we're probably gonna die, essentially, we're probably not gonna survive this battle, and, you know, we're gonna lose. And it's, and the question for this is, I have a book or series with an underdog rebellion. I said Outlander, because, I mean, that particular series, you have Claire Beecham Randall. She's a nurse. She had gone through World War II. It's the end of the war, and while her and her husband are vacationing in Scotland, she ends up back in time to the 1700s and gets mixed up in the Jacobite rebellion, and one of the many wars between the Scots and the English, their continuous dream to you know, gain independence from England. And these people called the Jacobites. They were the latest group of people that were trying to fight against England, and Claire kind of gets wrapped up in the middle of that war. So, and I think they ended up losing. I think historically they lost that war. They lost that battle. Of course, I mean, well, duh, actually, because if they had lost it, Scotland will probably be independent by now. An independent country. And I also said, or Les Miserables, which is the song, Do You Hear the People Sing? It was the inspiration for Today We Rise, because the song, a lot of the song, quite a few of the songs from Galavant are kind of inspired by songs from other musicals. Like Today We Rise, there's a song called Finally, which is a love song, and it's kind of like it's kind of inspired by Summer Nights. Dwarves vs. Giants, that one is inspired by the Jets versus the Sharks from West Side Story. And then there's a song in season 1 that I think was kind of inspired by A Little Priest from Sweeney Todd. And it's the song, Happy Ending for Us, which is not on the CD, I realized, because I downloaded both CDs onto my iPod, both seasons. And I just realized that song, Happy Ending for Us, is not on the CD, of the first season. Like, some of the songs weren't even on, didn't even end up on the soundtrack. But that particular song, A Happy Ending for Us, kind of reminded me of the song A Little Priest from Sweeney Todd. Just the melody and the message behind the song. So, like I said, Les Mis, if you've never read the book or have not at least seen the movies, or the stage musical, it is basically about the French Revolution. All the French peasants are trying to rebel against the king and queen. So, and I think the first part of the revolution was around the time of Marie Antoinette and King Louis the 15th, I believe. I think that's the one she was married to. The first part of the rebellion was around that time, and then I can't remember who took over after them, because, you know, of course, if you know your French history, the two of them died. You know, they got their heads cut off. But unfortunately, the freedom of the peasants did not last long. Things fell apart again, and This is about, in Les Mis is basically about what what happened after they killed Marie Antoinette and King Louis the 15th. Or it might be the 14th. Actually, it might be the 14th who she married. And it's like about, that's the other half of the plot is that. And like I said, that in Today We Rise is kind of inspired by Do You Hear the People Sing, which is all the people, the peasants, the leaders of the peasants, Androlis, I think how you say it, and of course Marius and Androlis is all like, I don't know if that's how you say it. I have trouble with, unless I hear the actual pronunciation, I have trouble pronouncing foreign names. And names in fantasy too. I need to hear the actual pronunciation. And it's them rebelling, or, I just realized I might have to redo this whole video. Well, I'll see what happens when I'm done. I'll try and see what happens. So anyway, like I said, I picked Outlander and Les Mis. Okay. So that is the Galavant book tag. I might have to redo this video anyway. If I don't, just ignore that I just said that. And I hope you guys like this tag, and we'll try and do it, Bye.